Having business credit in place is going to ensure that you can act on this opportunity and capitalize on it quickly. Let's say that you have a deal that you can't pass on, suddenly comes up, and all of a sudden you say, okay, I have 70K from one project that I just finished closing out, or I just had a big month. We have 70K sitting in the account, but that opportunity is, let's say, 150. Well, guess what? Having access to that credit line is going to allow you to bridge the gap or kind of like make up the difference between where you're at now and where you're looking to go. So I love the book Blue Ocean Strategy or Blue Ocean. And so if you're in a place right now where you've identified a blue ocean in your market, it's not a sea of red where all the competitors are. It's time for you to it's time for you to double down on that. And this is a conversation that I was actually having with one of our clients. And I said, dude, there's no one in your market that's doing what you're doing right now. And I believe that you're actually doing a disservice to the people who should know about your business, but they don't because you're undercapitalized, right? I think he had a fantastic product. I won't say what it was, just for his privacy. Fantastic product that I really do believe he's going to be able to take to the next level. But what he was missing was the way that he was funding his business was he was using the majority of his personal funds and credit, which is kind of what I mentioned about the startup. But this guy was already turning a big profit. And so what he's missing now is scale. And so if you're in that spot where you have a blue ocean opportunity and you're not doubling down on it, not only are you leaving a lot of money on the table, but you're also doing a disservice to the people that need your service, need your product, and would love to do business with you. Passion on that if you could fulfill on that promise. So take advantage of these opportunities. Next up, a strong financial position. This is going to be another important time where you should be looking at getting access to business credit. And I know this may sound counterintuitive, but here's what this means. Applying for business credit when your business is in a strong financial position, this is going to increase the likelihood of approvals with access to more capital and better terms. But I want to define that further because if not, then it just loosely sounds like a high cash flow cycle. That's not what this is. This is a little bit more than that. Your personal credit is primed and ready to go. This means that if you were maybe structuring your business right now and you were forming it, you were waiting for maybe a name change because you found out that the name was maybe considered a high risk, but your business credit scores are on point, your ratings are lined up, you have been driving revenue into your business, you have, let's say, 2 years of returns as an example, but you were just waiting on like one or two things to come off of your credit so that you can again be in that 750, 760 range. That would be a good time to strike while the iron is hot. That's one situation. Next one is after a significant business credit line approval, banks love to compete for business and they love to retain their clientele. And little pro tip, that should be all of us should be in that retention business. Repeat customers is fantastic. But going back into this, after a significant business credit line increase, you can also tie this in to a personal credit line increase because the majority of the time you're going to be personally guaranteeing unless you're putting up collateral. You're going to be personally guaranteeing, which means banks typically take a look at the average of all of your credit lines. And so if you have 1 to 2 credit lines that recently had an increase given to it, then that's going to raise the averages of the total credit lines. This is also true on the business credit side. And so for those of us that are maybe not startups and we already have access to some form of business credit, and I'm talking about financial accounts, not vendor accounts, with real financial accounts issued by banks, that's going to be a good time for you to go in either back into that bank because obviously that relationship is formed and there's trust there, or for you to go in at another business, at another bank or credit union that you can go in and ask for additional capital because now they're going to have a reference point that they can turn to, which is that significant business credit line increase. So they're going to say, wait a minute, if that bank, if Bank A gave them a significant business credit line increase, then, us, Bank B, we want some of that as well because it looks like they are a good customer to have. And that's where once you kind of go over that bridge and you get that first dollar across, That's how you slowly start to ramp and scale out the business capital that you get. Next up, business revenue is stacked in your favor. That's pretty self-explanatory. Business can show profitability. Obviously, if you are claiming losses, if you are right now, maybe of the 5 years on your taxes, and maybe strategy wise, you're trying to claim as many losses as possible, then maybe that's not your best. That's not your best, I would say, position, because right now, financially, you're not primed for additional working capital. Obviously, there's other methods that we can use to get access to working capital, but maybe using a P&L in this case is going to only be beneficial for you if you're actually, again, turning the profit. And lastly, we have liquidity and accounts. This is right after a strong cash flow cycle, preferably. Now, liquidity and accounts simply means that you have access to cash in the bank, so that the bank, the financial institution, the underwriters, they see, okay, there's money in here. And so this is one of the ways that you can build up your internal bank rating with them. And this is also one of the ways that they can lower their, what they call their risk mitigation, because they see this is a healthy business outside of the owner having being responsible, having a primed credit score. They also have a healthy business, which one of the fastest ways to dictate how healthy a business is by looking at its cash flow. And then lastly, the best time to get access to business credits and start going after it is before major expenses, not after, not after the account's wiped out, not after you've made the world's biggest purchase your business has ever seen. It is before a major expense. And so let's define that. Planned investments. If you anticipate significant expenses in the near future, such as upgrading technology or purchasing new equipment, securing business credit ahead of time, is going to ensure that you are prepared. This is the whole purpose of this, is that you are prepared. And by the way, you can also insert in there if you're planning on purchasing a property. Not after, not during the underwriting process, before. That is going to be when you want to strike, when the iron is hot. This is how you stay ahead of the curve, because it's better to have it in place before you need it, or when you don't need the capital, than it is to, quote unquote, hey man, I need this to stay alive. Now, can you still get it even if your business, again, is hurting for that capital? Yes, but I believe that a lot of us get a little desperate when we are in just like reserve mode. Even the way that we make decisions gets a little cloudy when we are down to our last dollar, down to our last month. And so you also want to keep an eye on that, because that is one of the metrics that banks like to look at is, based on where they're at, what's their burn rate? How far off are they from, if they use up with the funds that they have in their account, are they from going out of business?